Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a really easy weeknight meal. It's a one pot meal so you're not dirtying a whole bunch of dishes. I'm going to be showing you how to make stuffed peppers. So you saw me throw 1 pound of ground beef into my Dutch oven here that I have on the stove top. And a Dutch oven is a really good item to have because you can take it straight from the stovetop into the oven and you don't have to dirty multiple dishes cooking something in a pan and then putting it into a casserole dish. So now I'm cutting up half of a large white onion. You could use any kind of onion that you wanted. If you like a little more sweet, go for red onion. If you don't have a large one, put in a whole medium-sized onion chopped up. And I like to add a little bit of bell pepper to the sauce and to the meat that I make that goes inside of the regular peppers. So right now I'm going to cut up colored peppers, so a red and a yellow. And then whenever I make the stuffed peppers themselves, I use the green peppers to stuff, but you could use multicolored peppers also. Would turn out just as well. So all I'm going to do is take these peppers, and it's one whole pepper each. They're not very big, probably about a medium-sized bell pepper. And I'm just going to chop them into little squares and add those in with my meat and that onion that I put in there to cook. So right here I'm finishing up on the red pepper. And this is completely optional. You don't have to have this in your filling. I know a lot of people also will add mushrooms into their filling, but I usually leave those out. Alright, so there goes my red pepper. Throw away my little discarded pieces. Now we're going to go in with a little bit of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt, but you could use regular or sea salt. A little bit of fresh ground pepper. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And then I have one of these little ground beef star spatulas. They're really good for breaking up beef and sausage when you're cooking, but you don't have to have those. You can break it up just as well with a regular spoon or a spatula. But I'm going to go in and just kind of get that meat broken apart into smaller bite-sized pieces. And then this mixture will need to cook for probably about 15 minutes. There are my green peppers that I'm actually going to use to put the stuffing in. I only had 3 of those left, so that worked out perfectly because there's 3 of us. And you always want to rinse your peppers. That's what I'm doing off camera. Any kind of produce that you get from the store, you want to rinse before you cut it and use it because you don't know what kind of germs and things are on the outside of it. And so what you're going to do is you're going to cut around the top of the pepper and then pull out all of the little seeds, as many as you can get a hold of anyway, and then that's what it should look like whenever you're finished. And you want a big enough opening at the top that you're going to be able to get your filling inside without a whole lot of struggle. So I'm just finishing cleaning those out while that meat mixture cooks. And while I have these going, I have brown rice cooking in my Instant Pot behind me. You don't have to add rice to it, or the brown rice. You could substitute for white rice or whatever, or you could just leave it with a plain meat and sauce mixture. That's completely up to you. We have always put rice in ours, and the brown rice is just a little bit healthier, and it seems to cook up a little bit softer if you do it in a pressure cooker or Instant Pot than it does on the stovetop. So I have that going in the back. I'm throwing some minced garlic in there. Another thing that you could have done if you're only wanting to keep it in one pot would be to cook your rice in this Dutch oven first and then pull it out and then start your meat mixture. That would work just as well also. So now I'm just stirring that garlic in there, getting those flavors really well incorporated. Alright, so this has been cooking for, like I said, about 15 minutes now. My meat is good and browned, and my onions have turned like a clear color, and then the peppers are nice and soft. You just don't want them to be really, really hard. So now I'm going to take and get my little green peppers ready. There's my brown rice from the Instant Pot there. So I'm going to add this to this meat mixture. Give that a quick stir to get everything mixed in really well. And you'll want to reduce the heat on this pot once you start to mix this together and get your sauce going, because you don't want it to get too hot and then scorch your sauce or cause your rice to stick to the bottom of the pot. So I'm going to throw in 1 can of diced tomatoes. And you don't have to use diced tomatoes. If you wanted, you could just use tomato sauce and throw in there with this. I'm actually going to throw the diced tomatoes in with my filling, and then I'm just going to use the sauce to top everything with and cook it in. And some people will forego tomato sauce and they'll actually mix up their peppers, and then they'll pour a big can of tomato juice over top of them, and that's what they cook it in. Either way is perfectly fine. That's just personal preference on your part. So now I'm filling my peppers and spilling stuff all over the counter as usual. So I'm just going to put some filling inside of those. I could have waited until after I added sauce and everything to it to do all of this. But to me, it's easier to pour it when all you're dealing with is the meat and the rice that's kind of stuck together than whenever you have sauce running all over the place and down your hands while it's hot. Alright, so now that my peppers are filled, I'm going to mix up the sauce part now. So I'm going with just 1 regular sized can of tomato sauce in here. If you're making a larger batch, you'll probably want 2 or maybe even 3 cans, or just one of the really large, like family sized cans. So I'm going to put my can of tomato sauce in here. And this is just plain tomato sauce. It's not like pasta sauce or spaghetti sauce. And then that was just a little bit of water that I ran in the can to rinse out the remainder of that tomato sauce, so I get all of it in there. Give that a stir, and then now we're going to add our own seasonings to this. So going in with cracked pepper again, salt. So on the brown sugar, I usually just put 1 handful, which is usually about 1/4 cup because I have really small hands. And then that's just like an extra little pinch because I didn't have my hand completely full. So 1/4 cup of the brown sugar, and that again is optional. If you like your spaghetti sauce a little more tangy, forego the brown sugar. My daughter does not like plain pasta sauce whenever I make it, so we have to put a little bit of sugar in it. There I sprinkled a little bit of basil leaf. A little sprinkle of parsley now. And then we're going to go back in with just a few more shakes of Worcestershire sauce. That also will help sweeten it up a little. We're going to stir that around and let it simmer for just a couple of minutes. About 2 to 3 minutes, I would say. Now we're turning the heat off on the pot. I'm sitting my peppers down into that sauce mixture, and whenever I'm wiggling them back and forth, what I'm doing is making sure that that pepper touches the bottom of that pot so that they don't fall over whenever I pick this up and move it into the oven. Now I'm taking that sauce and spooning it over the top of those peppers so it'll run down inside. And there's also probably about 1 inch of it down in the very bottom of that pot. And my oven is set at 350. And it has been warming up while I've been cooking the rest of this. Now I'm going in with shredded fresh Parmesan cheese. You could use any kind you wanted to. We've used mozzarella before, or if you're more partial to cheddar or Colby Jack, any kind of cheese would work well. This is what I had on hand, and I really like the Parmesan flavor with the tomato sauce. So now this is going to go in the oven, and this is going to cook for about 1 hour. So if you guys enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and check us out for more recipes. I also have some Dollar Tree cookbooks coming up.